question.
Joe Farrell, Rogers Sportsnet. George, obviously what happened on Saturday night, everyone's talking George St. Pierre, Anderson Silva, almost overlooking Jake Shields. What do you have to say to the fans and the media alike that are focusing on that fight and forgetting about Jake Shields?
I don't even think about this right now. I never thought about it. I always live the present moment, and my biggest problem is Jake Shield, and it would be foolish for me to look past Jake Shield. He posed the biggest threat to my title. He's a very well-rounded fighter, and the UFC brought him in, and I'm glad they did. Because he's the number one guy for the welterweight title, and as a champion, I'm a proud champion. I want to fight the best guy, and I'm gonna fight Jake Shield, and I'm happy to do so.
Jake, do you find it insulting that everyone's overlooking you in this fight and already talking about GSP and Silva?
No, not really. I mean, maybe a little, but not really. I just think they've both been so dominant in the UFC the last few years. People are talking about it, but I think it's a big mistake to overlook me because I plan on coming out there and spoiling that fight.
Dana, we know that 42,000 tickets are going to be available to pack this place on April 30th. But we also know that this place holds well over 60,000 people. Have you thought about sort of the ticket sales and how well they will go on Saturday and possibly extending that larger? Because we do know that the WWE has come in here in the past twice and sold it to the brim, and I firmly believe that you guys can do that without batting an eyelash, and because it is such a historic event, I think you need to do that.
Well, you can only hope, hopefully we come in and sell more tickets, and yeah, we're able to make it bigger if we have to. The same thing just happened to us up in Seattle. We just put a fight on sale up in Seattle. We had it scaled for I think around 10,000, and we've had to open up more seats. The thing keeps selling and selling, so yeah, that would be good if that was the case here in Toronto too.
Hi Dana, Rudy Blair, 680 News. This goes for you and for Tom. What are the chances of maybe sometime this year another fight happening here in Toronto? And if George St. Pierre wins, what are the chances of that fight being the super fight with him and Anderson Silva?
Yeah, I said it at the press conference after Saturday's fight. Like George said, I said the same thing. Everybody wants to talk about the George St. Pierre Anderson Silva fight. Well, he's got to beat Jake Shields first. And if it happened, the biggest problem would be, where do we do that fight? Where do we hold it? And Anderson Silva didn't sound too excited about Toronto.
Dana, Michelle DeBassy, TV News. A lot of fans buzzing about finally getting their tickets, but there are people who are worried about what the experience is going to be like if they don't get those floor seats, if they're spending $50 and they're high up in the Rogers Centre because it's a big venue. What are you guys going to do to make sure it's a worthy experience?
Nobody was more worried about that than me, believe me. I've said for years that I don't know about doing stadiums. One of the things about what I think has helped the UFC get as big as it has is the live event experience. And the last guy on earth that wants to ruin that for anybody is me. And I'm actually really excited about this. We put together some, I can guarantee you this, and one thing that I'm always all about the fans, I want the fans I never want the fans to not only turn off their television and say, that sucked. I don't want the fans to walk away who bought tickets to have a bad experience either. And I'm actually pumped for the experience that we're planning for you guys up in here in Toronto. Tom and I were just talking about it out there. We're going to do things in this arena that we've never done in any arena ever before. So instead of people worrying about that the experience isn't going to be the same, it's not. It's going to be better. We're taking it to a whole nother level, and I'm really excited about it. I'm pumped.
If I can just add something to that, because I think it's really important. From the outset, Dana's always said it's about making sure the fan experience for this first ever event in Toronto is the best ever. And so we went out and configured a 70,000 seat stadium to hold 42,000 seats. We can add some more, but the fact of the matter is we've configured it so it's going to be a fabulous experience for everybody that's in there. You asked about the people that are in the 500 section. We're going to have a total of 8 different screens for the fans in the 500 section to be able to not only watch the event live by looking down at the octagon, but they're going to have these huge screens that they can watch it from as well. the big
Don't
jump.
tell them everything. Come on, we're
sorry.
gonna save some surprises.
Okay, so I won't tell you everything, but all I can tell you is it's going to be a fabulous experience.
It is. We're really excited about it. It's gonna be cool.
The Canadian press. My question is for George and Jake. Welcome to Toronto, both of you. Could you tell me what your thoughts were on the Silva Belfort fight on Saturday night, particularly the finishing move? Perhaps, Jake, do you want to go first?
Yeah, it was a great fight. It started a little slow, of course. The first 2 minutes had me wondering what was going to go on, but then once they got going, Anderson, and he looked great like always. And that kick was another example of how fast Anderson can put people out. It's not the first time Anderson put someone out with a weird move. He's done upward elbows and cotton kicks, knock people out with jabs. He's one of those people that can just knock people out from the weirdest kicks and punches and elbows and whatnot.
So it's a move that you don't see. Actually, you never seen it in mixed martial art. I think from what I've seen, it was outstanding. It was very impressive. It's called a magiri. It's something that you learn in karate class, but it's like a basic kick, but you forget about how lethal it could be. But Anderson Silva just shows that everything works. He's a true mixed martial artist, and it was very impressive. Great timing.
And can I just have a quick follow-up to both of the main event fighters? Who do you think is the best? Who do you rate as the best pound-for-pound fighter? Jake?
I hate doing pound-for-pound rankings. It's almost impossible to do. But if I absolutely got forced into doing it, I would probably put GSP right now, just because he's been so dominant with not having losing around or anything in his last fights.
James Sabalski from TSN, just back here in the nose.
We got one more. You didn't answer yet.
Yeah, sorry. I was thinking, the pound for pound. Yeah, it's hard to say, but you have to look the guy's credential and everything, and it's something that pound for pound. It's really only on paper, but right now I would put Anderson Silva and maybe the guy on my right, Jose Aldo, is probably considered the two best pound for pound right now in the world.
Sorry for interrupting. Please don't beat me up. Dana, James Sabalski from TSN, question for you, but what does it say about this market where you come in here to promote a title fight with GSP and all people want to talk about is the next big event? All of a sudden people are looking about this super fight.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that people have been talking about, this super fight between these two forever. And one of the things that I've always said is it's a fantasy fight right now. Half of it's over. He just beat Vitor Belfort. That was a very dangerous fight. And now George St. Pierre's in a very dangerous fight, up here in Canada. This guy is so stealth. It's unbelievable. But that's how he's been his whole career. And I got interviewed by one of the guys before I came in here, and he said, yeah, come on, how scary is this fight really for George St. Pierre? The odds makers made this fight 6-1 in Las Vegas. And I said, well, let me tell you what, the people have been counting this kid out forever. I mean, and I'll admit, me too. He just fought Dan Henderson at 185 pounds, and anybody who's ever covered mixed martial arts in this room, probably even his training camp, didn't think he was going to win that fight. Not only did he win that fight, he dominated Dan Henderson and beat him. And he came in, now people are looking at probably his last performance in the UFC, and I don't care how dominant you've been and how many fights you've won or how big the stadium is you fought in, everybody gets this weird, I call it the UFC jitters when they first come into the UFC. He beat a tough guy, Martin Kampmann. And listen, this guy's a force to be reckoned with. You heard it in the thing, what is it? He hasn't lost a fight since 2005. And that's tough to do in this sport.
Be a completely different fighter than Kampmann too. You're going to see a different fighter on April 30th. So
this is a tough fight for George St. Pierre. I don't care what Las Vegas says or what anybody else says. George has to get through this fight first before we can even talk about an Anderson Silva fight.